Do you ever look at a piece of clothing and you think, ooh, that's nice? You can't figure out why. You might be looking at two t-shirts, seemingly identical, but one of them just looks a little bit better. Perhaps you've got a jacket that you love because it zips up buttery smooth, or it has really nice chunky buttons that feel like they're going to last forever. Details. These are small details that make a huge difference to a piece of clothing. My obsession with details came about when I bought my first piece of higher-end clothing. It wasn't a super expensive designer piece, but it was definitely a piece that was a step up from your regular high street clothing store. As I'd spent a little bit more money on this than I did with my other clothes, I wanted to take a little look around the garment and see what justified that increased price. I noticed on the back that there was a seam running all the way down the centre. When I went back onto the product page, in the details, it said that there was a double-stitch centre back seam. This was a cut and sew detail, meaning that the t-shirt was constructed in such a way that it couldn't be done on a typical mass production scale. So at some point they had to go in and make some custom changes to their machinery in order to achieve this, or it was hand stitched. For some reason, this made me happy and excited for the item. It made me feel like it was crafted with passion, and in turn, that made me feel passionate about the item, and also made me feel like I was getting my money's worth. Let's look at some other examples out there. How about the hardware on your clothes? What I mean by hardware are things like zippers and buttons. If a piece of clothing has a YKK zipper on it, I always mention it. Why? Well, YKK, which stands for Yoshida Kogyu Kabushiki Kaisha, obviously, makes some of the most reliable zippers in the world. I read a quote somewhere that said, a zipper can't make a piece of clothing, but it can break a piece of clothing. And this is so true. Ideally, you don't really want to ever have to think about your zippers. You just want them to function and do what they're meant to do. But when your zipper breaks or it's not working properly and getting stuck, it is one of the most infuriating things ever. And this is something which has probably happened to all of us, and it's down to a cheaply made, no-brand zipper. So I think that looking for small details like YKK zippers is something we should all be looking for with our clothes. It shows that that brand has gone through that thought process for the end user. They've decided to spend a little bit more time and money on the development of that garment in order for the end user to have the most pleasurable and reliable experience. Of course, there are many high quality zippers out there, YKK are just the most widely known. Let's go back to construction of garments. I've already talked about the centre back seams, but there are loads of other details that show off construction quality. How about salvage denim, for example? Salvage denim is way harder to produce than regular denim. It still requires a shuttle loom. This means that every piece of salvage denim that's produced has that sort of heritage appeal. You're getting that made by hand feeling. It's not something that can be mass produced on a large scale. Yes, it's going to cost a little bit extra, but in return, you're getting something which is much higher quality, it's going to last you a lot longer, and it's way more unique than other denim on the market. This is why people rave about salvage denim, and when they wear it, they turn up the hems so you can see they're wearing salvage. Another small detail is what materials are being used to make the garments. For instance, the difference between a wool shirt and a cotton shirt is huge. A wool or wool blend shirt is always going to be higher quality than a cotton shirt. It'll hold its shape better, keep you warmer, and probably last longer. Or maybe you're looking for a shirt for the hotter weather, in which case you're probably going to be wanting to look for silk rather than cotton, because silk is much better in warmer climates. How about the weight of a piece? Heavy weight is usually a sign of quality, especially when it comes to t-shirts. It means more material was used in the manufacturing process, and as a consequence, it's probably going to feel better when you wear it, and it's going to last longer. This is why a lot of vintage pieces still survive today. The base quality of clothing used to be a lot higher than it is these days. I'm obviously not saying that heavyweight things aren't made today. I mean, let's take Supreme for example. People always rave about how heavyweight their t-shirts are, and so they feel like they're getting value. It's no surprise that a lot of brands who are proud of what they're producing mention specifically the weight of their garments. It's a real selling point because it's a sign of quality and it's something that consumers should definitely be looking out for. I think small details of clothing matters more today than it ever has. In a world of mass production and consumption, small details show that someone loved the piece enough during its design to consider its construction. They wanted to make sure that it was high quality enough for the end user to enjoy it to its maximum. What are the small details do you look out for when you're buying your clothes or shoes? I'm sure I've missed a ton. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.